Nobody wants to talk about artificial intelligence is already eroding how you think. It is powering the most sophisticated misinformation machine in human history. It is automating millions of jobs out of existence. And the people building it are locked in a global arms race where they are consistently choosing speed over safety and hoping you don't notice. The revolution is real. It is accelerating, and the people selling you the future would very much prefer you focus on the promise rather than the cost. This is the conversation they are not having. Every morning, the headlines arrive like clockwork. A new model that writes better than most humans. A system that teaches itself to code overnight. A tool that generates an entire film from a single sentence. And honestly, most of those promises are not even exaggerated. But somewhere in the noise of all that excitement, in the relentless parade of product launches and utopian predictions, something critical is being quietly pushed aside. Something uncomfortable. Something structural. Because for all the extraordinary things AI can do, there is a darker current running beneath the surface, and most people are walking straight toward it with their eyes wide open and their guards completely down. The risks are not abstract. They are not science fiction. They are personal, systemic, and in many cases already unfolding right now. And that conversation starts much closer to home than most people expect. It starts with your mind. Right now, millions of students and working professionals are outsourcing their thinking to machines in ways that would have seemed extraordinary just 5 years ago. Assignments written by chatbots, code generated without the developer ever wrestling with the underlying logic, essays drafted, problems solved, decisions reached, all without the person nominally responsible ever engaging in the slow, difficult, deeply necessary process of actually figuring things out. On the surface, this looks like efficiency. In reality, it is something far more dangerous. It is cognitive atrophy happening at scale. The human brain, like any muscle, develops through resistance. Struggle is not a design flaw in the learning process. It is the entire mechanism by which real understanding is built. When AI removes that friction entirely, when it hands you the answer before you have even had the chance to feel confused, it is not helping you grow. It is quietly doing the growing for you. And that distinction, over time, carries consequences that are almost impossible to reverse. Then there is the job displacement conversation, louder and easier to have, which is probably why it dominates the discourse. AI can already write functional code, design graphics, produce video content, handle customer service at scale, and automate entire categories of digital work that whole industries have been built around for decades. But the more honest framing is not that AI will simply replace humans wholesale. The more honest framing is this. The humans who learn to use these tools effectively will replace the ones who refuse to engage with them at all. Adapting is not optional. It never has been when technology shifts this dramatically. The question is not whether the landscape is changing, it clearly is, but whether you are steering the machine or waiting to be displaced by someone who is. Zoom out further. And the picture grows considerably darker. AI has handed the architects of misinformation the most powerful weapon they have ever had access to. Deepfakes, synthetic videos, fabricated audio, AI-generated images so polished they are functionally indistinguishable from reality are no longer a theoretical concern. They exist. They circulate. They influence elections, destroy reputations, and erode the basic shared trust that functional societies depend on. We are entering an era where verifying what is actually real on the internet will become one of the defining challenges of public life. And the tools to create convincing falsehoods are democratizing far faster than the tools to detect them. Alongside this runs the quieter but equally consequential problem of algorithmic bias. These systems are not objective. They are trained on human data, and human data is saturated with human prejudice. Historical inequalities, cultural assumptions, structural blind spots baked in across decades of flawed record-keeping. When that data feeds the machine learns the bias too, and then it scales it, automates it, and applies it to hiring decisions, lending assessments, legal recommendations, and medical diagnoses, with a speed and authority that makes it far harder to challenge than if a human had simply made the same mistake. At the geopolitical level, the stakes escalate further still. The global race to dominate AI is not a polite academic competition. It is an arms race in the most literal sense. Nations and corporations competing with genuine urgency Because whoever controls the most advanced AI systems controls extraordinary economic leverage, military capability, and technological dominance over everyone else. And that urgency creates its own specific kind of danger. When the pressure to move fast is this intense, when the rewards for winning are this enormous, safety becomes a negotiating chip rather than a baseline requirement. Ethical guardrails get treated as obstacles to market leadership. The organizations most capable of building these systems responsibly are often the same ones most incentivized to build them recklessly. That tension is not hypothetical. It is the defining structural problem of the entire field right now. None of this means the technology is simply bad. It does not mean panic, disengagement, or retreat into technophobia. The same tools enabling mass misinformation could accelerate cancer research. The same systems displacing entry-level jobs could give a first-generation student in a remote village access to a world-class education. AI is not moral or immoral in itself. It is a tool, as indifferent to human values as electricity or the printing press, shaped entirely by the intentions and structures surrounding its use. The printing press gave us the scientific revolution and centuries of propaganda. The internet gave us Wikipedia and radicalization pipelines. AI will almost certainly do both things simultaneously, at a scale and speed that dwarfs everything that came before it, which is precisely why understanding it, clearly, honestly, without either worship or hysteria, is not optional for anyone living through this moment. The people who will navigate what comes next are not the ones most impressed by artificial intelligence. And they are not the ones most frightened by it either. They are the ones who took the time to look at it directly, to understand both what it can do and what it costs, and to make deliberate choices about how they engage with it. The future is not something that is being done to you, but it will feel that way if you stop paying attention.